Phew, this year is flying by. If you're anything like us, you've probably been pretty busy, but hopefully you've still found time to play some awesome games. I always find that it's nice to take a second to breathe and relax and recap how the year's gone so far. So today we're going to be talking about our top games so far this year, and I'm going to be joined by my #1 game partner, Liz.
I like her.
So if you're interested to know some of the coolest games that we played in the first quarter of 2022, then might I suggest... Hi, I'm Alex from Might I Suggest a Game, a channel devoted to helping you find your perfect board game. I recently started recording my plays on the Board Game Stats app, and wow, I didn't realize I played board games that much. I mean, I am technically a board game content creator. Find the link to all my channels down below. But I've never really quantified it until now. Over the last 3 months, I played 81 unique games. I mean, wow. That's crazy. I didn't even think I did that. But hey, I guess time flies when you're having fun. But anyways, of those 81, Liz got a chance to play 40 of those with me. So I knew she would be the perfect person to ask to join me to talk about our top games for the first quarter of the year. So anyways, here's Liz.
Hey everyone, it's good to be back in the chair. Today on the channel, we're going to be talking about our top games from the first 3 months of the year.
Now, we played a lot of games over the last couple of months, but we were able to narrow it down to a few different categories that we'll go through today. Just like our yearly recap, we got some special categories like top game off the back of the shelf,
Top second date game,
and of course our top overall games, which you'll have to stick around to the end to see. After checking out our list, we'd love to hear what your favorite games were from the first couple of months of the year.
so drop them below in the comments.
And while you're there, don't forget to hit subscribe and that little bell button so you can get notified when we post new content.
Anyways, let's get into it.
Will one of our favorite games from Q1 be the perfect game for you? Let's find out, shall we? So our first category today is the top Table Hogger, which are games that we played the most over this period. Liz and I have different ones because not all of our plays coincided, but that means more games for you to check out. So who's the real winner?
It's you, Chief.
Anyways, Liz, what was your top Table Hogger from the first quarter of the year?
Well, my top table hogger has been The Crew over these last couple of months. We've been playing the Mission Deep Sea version. It's the second edition of The Crew. And that's been really great. We've played through all 50 levels of the first round of The Crew, so we were really excited to get our hands on this second version. And so that's been so much fun.
It's true. My family and Liz's family are both big fans of trick-taking games, so The Crew is just a perfect, nice and easy cooperative game that we can really get into and honestly lose yourself in. Sometimes we'll play it for hours on end and we don't even notice. It's just one of those games that just works perfectly for the people that we play with, and we couldn't recommend it more highly.
It's great if you have like a crew of friends that you want to play with and continue to play with over time every time you get together.
I see what you did there. A crew? A crew of friends? Yeah.
Gotta have a crew.
Gotta have a crew.
So what was your top table hogger?
So my top Table Hogger was a game that I actually never played in person. It's a game called Six Nimmt, and I got all of my plays in on Board Game Arena. At the beginning of the year, not only did I start logging my plays on the Board Game Stats app, but I also discovered Board Game Arena for real. I knew it existed, but I feel like they've added a lot of new functionality and a lot of new games recently. So I checked it out again at the beginning of the year, and I've basically been obsessed with it.
Can confirm.
Liz would be in the bed trying to fall asleep, and I'd be over there with my laptop playing a few games of Six Nimmt before bed, you know?
So it's less of a table hogger, more of a lap hogger.
Yes, definitely a laptop hogger for sure.
Laptop.
So Six Nimmt, it was super easy to learn, super simple. It's just a really quick kind of push your luck card game. You can play it with a really high player count, and it's just a really fast one that I can play when I just need a break from working on my laptop or editing videos, perhaps. But yeah, I really love discovering Six Nimmt. I honestly need to get a physical copy of it, but Six Nimmt was definitely the game that I played the most over the first 3 months of the year. So my top Table Hogger was Six Nimmt. The next category we're going to talk about is the top game off the back of the shelf, which is one of my favorite categories because it encourages us to play games that we haven't played in a long time.
Because we have so many games that are cycling through and new games that come in, it's really nice to get some use out of the games that we've had in our collection for a long time.
And it's also a good exercise to see if that game actually has staying power or if it's just collecting dust on the shelf. So Liz, what was your top game off the back of the shelf for the first 3 months of the year?
I picked a game for this that we don't actually actually own, but we have played it at conventions. And that game is Awkward Guests. It's one that we played, I don't know, was it back in 2019 or 2020?
It was definitely pre-pandemic.
We played this game. We had a lot of fun, but it kind of just faded away from our memories. I forgot about it, but we did play it recently, and I remembered how much I liked it. I really like deduction games, and this one is a great game. Lots of player interaction. A little bit like Clue, but with a lot more detail, I guess. And instead of just moving around the board, you are gathering clues and that you're sharing information with other players to try to piece together who was where and, put together all the pieces of a whodunit.
Yeah, I was super interested to play this game again because I actually backed the sister project called Scandalo by the same company, Megacorp Games, on Kickstarter last year. So if you watched the video about my most anticipated games for this year, I'll put that up in the corner there. I talked about Scandalo as being one of my most anticipated games because it uses the same deduction system as Awkward Guest does. So it was really good to play the game again and to remember that it was actually as good as I remembered that it was.
So how about you? What was your top game from the back of the shelf?
I think my top game from the back of the shelf, again, is a game that I have had a renaissance for on Board Game Arena. I actually do own a copy of Castles of Burgundy, but I don't get it out very often because, honestly, the setup of Castles of Burgundy is a hassle. It's a hassle. It's true. And the box gets all jumbled up. I need to find a storage solution for that.
Okay.
My birthday's coming up.
Noted.
And because the theme isn't one that's like, jumps out at you when I try to explain a game for game night, people, usually don't pick this one when I give them a choice. But on Board Game Arena, it's super streamlined, super fast. I've played real-time versions of this. I've played asynchronous version of this, and I just have really enjoyed it. Every time that I play, I think it's just such a smooth and well-thought-out game in general. And so because of Board Game Arena, I'm so glad that I've been able to get it back to the table. It's kind of a multiplayer solitaire, but there is still some player interaction based on which tiles you choose and when and what die you roll. Castles of Burgundy uses a lot of mechanics and it does a lot of them well. And it's just a really smooth, simple game that looks more intimidating than it actually is. And when you get it to the table, it's actually just a solid game all the way through. So that's my top game off the back of the shelf for the first 3 months of the year. It's Castles of Burgundy.
All right, we're back with one of our favorite categories, the top game you'd like to take on a second date.
That's right, the top second date game. Great category, and it's all about the games that we played, but we want to play a few more times before we make a judgment on it.
So, what game would you like to take on a second date?
So, my top second date game is a game called Decorum from Floodgate Games. It is a game that just came out recently. We got a chance to play a review copy from our good friend Jonathan at the Game Storm convention in Portland. It's a really interesting concept. I think the tagline is something along the lines of a game about passive-aggressive cohabitation or something like that, which I think is very relevant for those who have been stuck inside during COVID. It feels like a very relevant game right now. I also really like the art and the colors of this game. It's got this really interesting primary color scheme with blue, red, and yellow, and then a green thrown in there, and I just think it looks really interesting and designerly, which as a designer, I think that it really appeals to me. But overall, yeah, I just really enjoyed kind of the tension of the game being like, we're all working together, right? It can get a little bit dicey there in the middle when everybody's trying to figure out what they're going for, but there are a few phases in there where you do get to share some information. You played this game. What did you think about it?
Yeah, I loved it. I felt like there were a lot of moments that felt very real. It thematically was on point with the experience of living with a roommate and, possibly people who have different hidden tastes or, who don't quite agree on the way that they want things to be.
I can't imagine why you would ever say that. Anyways, we really enjoyed Decorum. We're looking forward to playing it again. Hopefully we can get a copy of it soon and finally make the dream house we've always been wanting. All right then. Now, Liz, what is a game that you will be taking on a second date?
My game is another one that recently came out. That game is Blazon, and it is a game that we played for the first time at TantrumCon. It is a game about creating a medieval coat of arms. It's very puzzly. It's sort of like a tile drafting and tile placement and set collection type game. So you start off with an empty coat of arms board and you are placing different colors and different beautiful patterns on that board to fill it out. It's a beautiful game. Beautiful colors, beautiful art, and really nice components. I thoroughly enjoyed this game.
It will be fulfilling from its Kickstarter, I think, in the fall and coming to retail around then. So you're going to have to wait on this one, but trust us, it's pretty dang good.
So we were lucky enough to test out a copy before it came out. So, special.
You're a board game reviewer now, Liz. You are. Whether you like it or not.
I love it. I love it. So the game that I've chosen from this first 3 months of the year to take on a second date would be Blazon from 25th Century Games. All right, so moving on to our next category. It is the top new game in the last 3 months. This is going to be a hard one for Alex because it seems like every day we have a package at our door with a new game.
I don't know what she's talking about. I'm sure I've probably made a TikTok about this at some point, so if you don't follow me on TikTok already, you're missing a lot of hilarious board game meme content, okay?
Yeah, so what is your top new game of the first 3 months of the year?
Well, like you said, I've got a lot of games to choose from, I'll tell you that. But, hey, I've been participating in a decent amount of trades. It's not net negative yet, but, I'm mitigating, okay? I'm mitigating. But a new game that I just got recently that I've been really enjoying is called Forgotten Waters. Forgotten Waters is a collaborative, storytelling, pirate-themed game from Plaid Hat Games. It's really an interesting game because it is semi-cooperative. There's a lot of storytelling involved, so every time that you play, you get to create this character that has this funny backstory. I just think it's kind of like a D&D light, which is awesome because I love D&D, but I don't have a lot of people that want to play it at this moment in time currently. If you do, hit me up. But this is a great kind of RPG feeling game that doesn't feel too long, but you still get that storytelling aspect to it. I enjoy games like that, and Forgotten Waters really does that really well. Now, Liz, what is your top new game in our collection?
You know me. You know that I love party games. It's just not even a surprise. I have been really enjoying So Clover. It's a great one that's sort of like a palate cleanser when you're in between games. It's just another take on a clue guessing and clue giving game. And then it also is cooperative. So you have just one team, but everyone creates their own clover and then guesses everyone else's. So I like that aspect. It doesn't feel like it takes too much time to come up with the perfect clue. We've had a lot of laughs playing this game.
Yes. So. Almost every round that we've played devolves into some sort of laughter because of some ridiculous clue that someone came up with. It has totally replaced Just One in our collection, but I think, we've played this game with gamers and non-gamers alike, and it's been a hit all the way across the board. It is swiftly climbing the rankings of my favorite party games of all time as well, so I think this is a great pick, and I really, really enjoy this game as well.
So, my top new game is So Clover by Repost Production.
Alright, we finally made it to our last category, which is our top overall game of Q1. And Liz, what was it for you that topped the charts?
I've been loving, and I would consider my top game from the quarter to be Phantom Inc. from The Resident. We actually got a chance to playtest this one early on and loved it then, but we got the physical copy and have just been really loving the art and the components. Phantom Inc. is very cool and the game is so much fun. It is a party game themed like a seance. So you are asking questions of the ghost on your team, and they are giving you responses, but only one letter at a time, and they're writing them down on a piece of paper. It's tricky, it's fun, and we've had a lot of fun, late nights playing this game.
Well, we definitely don't disagree on this one. Phantom Inc. is a really great game and would highly recommend it to anyone if you're looking for a cool, very, very thematic party game.
So my top game from this quarter was Phantom Inc. from The Resident. what was yours?
Yeah, so my top overall game, it's always the most difficult decision that I have to make in these lists, but I think the game that I managed to narrow it down to is a game called Mind Management from Off the Page Games. So Mind Management is a really cool take on a hidden movement, hidden role game. There's one player that is secretly moving around the board trying to collect different objectives and to avoid the rogue agents, and the rest of the players are on the other side of the screen trying to capture this invisible moving person. So the thing I really liked about this game, the game itself has a really interesting tension. You know, you're always moving around. I got the chance to play it once as the hidden mover, the recruiter, and then once as one of the rogue agents, and both times it came down to the last turn, and the recruiter just barely evaded everyone's clutches, and it was really, really close. You know, I've played other hidden movement games, like Letters from Whitechapel, for instance, and I like those games, but I always feel like it's a lot more fun for the person behind the screen than it is for the other people that are trying to find the person behind the screen. This one, it felt equally as fun on both sides of it. There were definitely moments where people would stand up and cheer, you know, when something good happened. So it just felt like a masterpiece of a really thematic, emotional game that was a mix of storytelling, but also had these really interesting mechanics and really played like no other game that I'd played before. And I'm always looking for games with those unique propositions, and I think Mind Management is exactly that. It was just a very, very amazing experience and would highly recommend it to anyone. So my top overall game of the first quarter of the year is Mind Management from Off the Page Games.
Thanks so much for sticking around for our top games of the first quarter of the year.
Let us know what you think about our picks down below in the comments. And while you're there, you might as well drop your favorite games from the first quarter of the year down there as well.
Anyways, thanks to everyone who supported us so far.
Please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe so we can keep growing this channel and keep helping you find your perfect board game. Once again, this has been a Might I Suggest a Game production. I'm Alex.
And I'm Liz.
Your board game sommeliers, signing off.